Welcome to Spokane Talks, where you find news, views, and conversation that includes respect for opinions, facts, and diversity. Spokane Talks is brought to you in part by McNeese Wheeler Attorneys, Ponderosa Republican Women, and Rana Paint.
Welcome to Spokane Talks, news, views, and conversation. I'm Ryan McNeese. On our first segment on Ed 101, we have Meagan Garrett and Erik Wolfrum discussing the changing narrative in education regarding jobs in the trades. Next, Stephanie Regalado and Natalie Johnston will sit down and talk about women in STEM-related and science occupations. And lastly, Lyle Morse will be singing the blues on Library Out Loud. Thanks for joining us.
Ponderosa Republican Women is a club with members that come from every part of Spokane County. Although they differ in age, occupation, ethnic background, and cultural heritage, these women and many men stand together to promote government based on conservative principles, discover lifelong friendships, meet elected officials and candidates, hear challenging speakers, receive campaign training, and learn about the electoral process. Our meetings take place on the second Thursday of every month. Follow Ponderosa Republican Women on Facebook for more information.
Welcome to Education 101. Today we're talking about the trades and what we can do to get more kids into the trades. I'm here with Meagan Garrett.
Hello.
Welcome, Meagan.
Thank you, Erik.
So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is just the whole idea of our gap in the trades, because we truly have a big concern about kids or people going into the trades. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we do have a pretty significant gap, Erik. Right now, there are 500,000 unfilled jobs in the skilled trade industries, and that is projected to grow to 2 million unfilled jobs by 2025.
That's amazing.
That's a lot.
That's a huge gap.
It is.
So you're in the marketing world,
I
brand
am.
venture consulting, right? So the interesting thing that I find is you have a specific perception about this. So tell us a little bit about how you see where the problem is, if you will.
So I think one of the main reasons that people are not filling those jobs is because for the last 2 generations, we've told people, don't fill those jobs. We have, effectively, that's what we've done. We've painted a picture and we've told a story that the one path to success is a 4-year college degree or more and a certain type of job. We've painted a picture of what a blue-collar worker is, what blue-collar work is. And we've really said, we've painted a really negative picture and we've given people a perception, and now they don't want to pursue the lifestyle that we've laid for them.
Right. And I think that's the most fascinating thing that I find about where you're coming from is I think about that, how we have actually branded this. Yeah. And I don't think, and you're talking almost entertainment too, but from an education point of view, when I went through school, I was going to college.
Yes.
That was my option. And so, that's one of those things that we need to really start to change and think about how do we rebrand this, not just from education, but also from, the business side too.
I think so. I think we definitely need to rebrand it from the entertainment side. Everyone remembers the Roseannes, the Home Improvements, the different shows like that really paint that negative stereotype of blue-collar worker, trade workers and trade families. But then also in education, we really are told the one way to be successful is to pursue a college degree, when in fact there are multiple paths to success, whether that's going right into a job after college or pursuing technical education or 2-year degrees or apprenticeship programs. There really are multiple ways to be successful, and really what kids are hearing right now is that there's just the one path to success.
That's right.
And so the rebranding comes from creating a new perception, but also really being frank and honest with children about the best way for them.
Exactly. So let's talk about what we can do right after we hear a little bit from our sponsors. So we'll be right back on Education 101.
The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. McNeese Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeese Wheeler, attorneys.
And welcome back to Education 101. We're talking about the trades. And before we went on a break, we were talking about the whole idea of the gap that we have in trades and then the story that we have been telling. But now let's talk about how do we rebrand that story to try to encourage eliminating that gap that we're going to see 2 million jobs coming up.
So I think there's a lot of rebranding that needs to happen. I think it starts with leadership in education, leadership in government, leadership in the industries themselves, right? And I think from an education perspective, we need to look at helping children identify not what they want to be when they grow up and point them right to a job path, but help them understand, what do they want to do? What are they passionate about? What do they love? And really think of education not as a way to point them to a degree path, but as a way to help them understand and pursue a passion, and then find skills that match that passion. And then once you pair their passion and their skills, put them on a path to turn that and translate that into a career.
Exactly. And I think the other thing from an education point of view, at least from my perspective, is we need to do a better job of saying it's okay to go with all these different options. There are options out there, and we don't have to just think about college, which again, that's what I said earlier, is I went to college because that's what I was going to. And so how do we start to rebrand that? And I think we're starting to do a better job. CTE plays a role in this, career technical ed.
And I think we have to make it more appealing. I think if we really want to fill that gap that we have in the trade industry, we have to help students understand that it isn't something that you just choose when there's no other option, right? That we really have to help them understand lots of job opportunity, high-paying jobs. These are jobs that aren't just something that nobody with any skill goes into, but you have to know things. You learn a lot. You spend 4 years apprenticing often, or you learn on the job for several years. This is something that is really fulfilling work. It's really challenging work, and you really do actually need to use your brain as well as your body. So just really painting a different picture so that they can feel good about pursuing it when that's what they're actually passionate about.
So I'm excited to continue to think about the whole idea of how do we rebrand the trades. We did a full conversation on Spokane Talks Media on Education 101, and I hope everybody out there takes the time to kind of take some interest and go and listen to our whole conversation. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Eric.
Next up on Spokane Talks, Stephanie Regalado and Natalie Johnston sit down on SheSays and discuss STEM-related occupations and women in the sciences, as well as balancing a family with a career.
Ponderosa Republican Women is a club with members that come from every part of Spokane County. Although they differ in age, occupation, ethnic background, and cultural heritage, these women and many men stand together to promote government based on conservative principles, discover lifelong friendships, meet elected officials and candidates, hear challenging speakers, receive campaign training, and learn about the electoral process. Our meetings take place on the second Thursday of every month. Follow Ponderosa Republican Women on Facebook for more information.
Hello and welcome to SheSays. I'm your host, Stephanie Regalado. My guest today is Natalie Johnston. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you.
You are the principal, one of the 4 principals
Yes.
at MSI Engineers.
I am,
You're a mechanical engineer. Looking back over your life, what are some bullet point moments on your timeline that inspired you or put you on this
career
track?
path.
Yes.
Well, I always liked math and science. I was going to be a doctor, but I was bad at chemistry, so that sent me in a very different path. Turned out I was just really good at physics and calculus and all that, and so I was like, I should probably do what I'm good at. And then off to school, and that's how I landed here. Yeah.
What are some moments that you feel like is there any moment that you can look back on and see you could have switched into a different direction, or?
Yeah, I think I think my parents really, really helped me when I was, especially when I was like, wow, I've never been bad at anything, and I'm bad at chemistry, and I feel like they really guided me and helped me, and they said, don't give up, and hey, look at what you are good at. So I feel like that was important.
When we were chatting earlier, you mentioned a gingerbread house moment.
Yeah, that was the turning point, actually.
How old were you?
I was 16 or 17, probably 17. Mm-hmm. And I stayed up all night making this stupid gingerbread house, very elaborate with lights, and it was huge in structure. And my dad came in the middle of the night, probably wondering what in the heck I was doing. And he looked at me and he looked at the gingerbread house and he goes, honey, you should probably be an engineer. I was like, you're right. You're so right. Yeah, and so I changed my major and went the other direction.
And what does that look like now?
So now I do consulting. So I went to Gonzaga, got my engineering degree there, as did my husband, and I went immediately into consulting. It's HVAC design for buildings, and and so I did that. I got
what drew you into HVAC designs?
When I finished college, 2003, the market was pretty bad, and there were not a lot of jobs. So I took the one I could get. It was, and I wanted to stay in Spokane, and so it was available. It was in Spokane. It was at a great firm, not the one I'm at now, but another really good firm. And it was a solid job, and I enjoyed it. So I stayed there for a while, and then I eventually I took a little diversion, and I went and I did computer engineering for about 18 months. It was a really good break. I think I had to know I could do something besides consulting. Yeah. But then I came back to consulting and decided that this was the right fit for me, and I got my engineering license, and I stuck it out. I got offered partnership, and so that's been a great path.
How long have you been partner?
About a year and a half. So
that's pretty.
Always really wanted to go down that path. So,
and now you're kind of on the top of your game.
I guess so. I hope so.
We are going to take a quick break and talk about where do you go from here when you're on your top.
All right.
We're going to hear a word from our wonderful sponsors and be right back.
The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. McNeese Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeese Wheeler Attorneys.
Welcome back to She Says. I have Natalie Johnston joining me today of MSI Engineers. You are our partner. You gained partnership a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I was, right before we took a break, I was like, well, what's next? What's next? Which reminds me of, and it's been a year and a half. It reminds me of Maria Shriver's, when she released a book. She was at a family event, and her grandfather, the book had just come out, and her grandfather asked her what she was doing, like what she has going on. She's like, well, I just released the book. He's like, well, I know you did that, but what's next?
What next? What next?
What's next? So what's the next big thing in your life? What are your next?
It's a really great question. I feel like I should have a snappy answer, but I don't. I feel like right now I am still just really learning I feel like I'm very new to partnership, right? And owning a business, and there's so much to learn, and I love it. Like, it's so fascinating. It's and learning to teach new engineers. Like, I feel like that is a skill that I am still working on, right? Because you have to figure out how to pass on your knowledge, and you need young engineers. I really hope one day one of them will be a woman, but you never know.
And you're an advocate for young girls to stay on the path of science.
Yeah, and I would love to, look for more opportunities to share that within the community. I don't know what to do, but I'm always looking for more things to do in that direction. And and also just enjoy my family. My kids are at such an amazing age.
You have triplets.
I do.
7 years old.
I want to travel with them. I want to be involved with them, and and just enjoy this really great time in my life. Yeah.
And the industry has been booming here in Spokane.
Yes.
So you're keeping busy. I'm guessing.
We are. We're lucky. It's been Spokane is doing great, and we're firm is doing wonderful. We're very busy. We just finished up some big projects. We have some more really
What
big
are some big projects that we...
Personally, I just finished the remodel of the Macy's building.
Oh,
the
yeah.
M. So that one is it's been so fun because it's right there and everybody knows about it.
And I bet the whole retrofit type of experience is its own beast.
It is, especially old buildings, historical buildings. Like they're a challenge, but they're so fun. They're so fun to see. We have lots of schools coming up. We're doing some healthcare. We're finishing up that 5th and Brown Medical Center.
Oh,
that
excellent.
new one that everybody gets to see every time they get off the division exit. So those are some fun ones that are wrapping up. We have lots more coming. So,
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being an inspiration for sciences and math for all genders.
Yeah, sure.
And the amazing work that you're doing in Spokane, ensuring that there's excellent quality air and
Right. Yes. Comfort
comfort is so
will go
important. It's all
comfort,
about the
right?
experience. So, and who knew?
Right.
You are so important to all of that. So, thank you so much, Natalie, for
You're
joining us.
welcome.
We will see you next time on She Says.
Next up, Lyle Morse will be singing the blues on Library Out Loud with Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker. I am the Communication and Development Director for the Spokane County Library District. Joining me today is special guest Lyle Morse. Lyle is an acoustic bluesman. In fact, I must read you this description of Lyle. He is an acoustic bluesman, singer-songwriter, and he plays the blues as steely and intense as a scorned lover's stare, as smooth as the feel of black velvet, and down home as a jam session on Grandma's front porch. What an awesome description.
That always just makes me smile.
That is great. Lyle, you are a local musician, and we became acquainted because you've come and performed at our libraries, and we're hoping to have you back in early 2019. You also play at various wineries here around Spokane on First Fridays and Barrister and Mary Hill. So you are a local musician who's fabulous, and we're so glad to have you here today.
Well, I'm just pleased to be here today with you. It's been a really great experience.
Great. Yeah. So the blues, that's what inspires you.
Absolutely. I kind of specialize on blues that was written like between the 1920s and maybe the 1950s or so. I really like going back to the roots blues, and you might hear me playing. I don't do a lot of Charlie Paxton, but I will. He was like one of the firsts, but I love Robert Johnson, and I do a lot of Big Bill Brunsey material and Muddy Waters and that kind of thing. So
Great.
I really love the acoustic nature of roots blues. So,
and it's just you and the guitar.
That's just me.
And occasionally our harmonica.
And occasionally I'll stick in some harmonica too, right?
That's great.
So.
And so not only do you play that kind of music, but you also intersperse some of your original.
I do. I put my originals in there, which is, my originals are going to be, and there's some folk influence in what I do, only because, when I first started playing music, I did a lot of folk music, and so a lot of that comes with me, and or lives inside me, I guess I should say. And so yes, I try to make sure that the audiences get a good dose of not only roots blues, but maybe some of the more interesting arrangements of some of the past folk tunes.
Great. Very exciting.
Yes.
Well, we're going to have you play. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have you play a little music for us. But quickly, how can people get a hold of you if they'd like to hear more?
Website, www.lylemorse.com. You can read about me and listen to my music. Facebook, Lyle Morse, a.k.a. Lonesome Lyle.
Sounds perfect. And we're going to listen to some music from Lyle. But first, a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker along with Lyle Morse, acoustic bluesman, and we've been talking about your influences or what influence inspires you and the local that you're a local artist and people can come hear you play. Yes. Again, that was Barrister
Winery frequently, at least every other month I'm there, and sometimes more frequently. It just sort of depends. And also Mary Hill Winery, you can catch me there as well. But you can also catch me at places like Spokane Farmers Market, and you can catch me at another place like the Kendall Yards Evening Market and these kinds of things.
And our libraries.
Yes, and our libraries.
Yes, we have Lyle into the
twice this year. So.
County libraries twice this year, and having him back soon. So be watching our website for information on that. We have just a couple minutes left, and while I'm loving having this conversation with you, because I could talk with you all day about this, even more so, I could listen to your music all day. So I would love it if you played some music for us.
I'll be happy to do that. Let me do a song by blues artist from the 1920s. His name was Robert Johnson. He wrote about 28 songs that became like staples of the blues repertoire. And this is one of the songs that he wrote, not about Chicago, Illinois. It's about Chicago, California.
Oh,
believe
all
it or
right.
Whoa, baby, don't you wanna go? Whoa, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that land of California, sweet home Chicago. Whoa, baby, don't you wanna go? Whoa, baby, don't you wanna go?
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Cindy Hval is a freelance columnist and correspondent for the Spokesman Review and author of War Bonds, Love Stories from the Greatest Generation. The view from her porch is usually sunny.
Remember when all offices were supposed to go paperless? Remember that? Well, I'm here to tell you that, at least at the doctor's office, there's still multitudes of forms you have to fill out at every visit. I don't mind filling them out for myself or my kids. I've had lots of practice. But recently I took my mom to the oral surgeon, and it took both of us to complete the forms. At least Mom has an excuse. She said her doctor recently told her that her short-term memory is really short. I'll get back to you when I have an excuse for me. Mom tried to help me as I labored over the paperwork. She mentioned that her medications were making her mouth dry. I can't even spit anymore, she said. Did you do a lot of spitting, I asked. You'd be surprised, she said. Back to the forms. I asked for her social security number, and she rattled it off. That's impressive, I said. Well, it could be the number off the model of my new couch, she said. I handed her the clipboard. Here, why don't you take a turn? She ticked off boxes of medical history and then informed me for birth control she was going to write, currently, I'm avoiding men. I wonder if you need a prescription for that. Unfortunately, neither of us could remember her new address. We contemplated writing it's 2 blocks away from her old address. Mom said, it's not the blind leading the blind, it's the dumb leading the dumb. Thankfully, my phone is smarter than both of us, and Google helped us find her new address. It couldn't help us with our height, though. She shrunk quite a bit. We were both stumped. Just write down that I'm shorter than you now, she said. I gave her back the clipboard. A few seconds later, she asked, how do you spell hysteria? Why? Do you suffer from that too? No, silly, I'm writing about my hysterectomy. I took the clipboard back to the receptionist, and a bearded gentleman who had been sitting nearby approached us. I just want to tell you, you guys made my day, he said. You guys are absolutely adorable. That's us, I said. That's who? Mom asked. No, who's on first, I said, channeling my inner Abbott and Costello. We collapsed in a fit of giggles. While we wait for paperless offices to become a real thing, we're still going to have to contend with intake forms, release forms, and the oh-so-repetitive and tedious medical history forms. We may not be able to escape them entirely, but we can make filling them out fun. At least my mom and I can. And that's the view from my front porch.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Spokane Talks. News, views, and conversation. So long for now.
Spokane Talks is about you. Give us your feedback and comments at info@SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Spokane Talks is brought to you in part by McNeese Wheeler Attorneys, Ponderosa Republican Women, and Rada Paint. We'll be back next week with additional news, views, and conversations. Please join us. So long for now.